Sure.
Donna Uzzell. Donna, is that the correct pronunciation? Is it Uzzell or Uzzell?
Uzzell.
Uzzell, okay. Is the chair of the National Crime Prevention and Privacy Compact Council. Ms. Uzzell is also Director of Criminal Justice Information Systems for the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, a position she has held since 1996. She was instrumental in the creation and maintenance of Florida's Sexual Offender and Sexual Predator Registration and Notification Program. Ms. Uzzell was an officer with the Tallahassee Police Department from 1981 until 1993. She earned her B.S. from the Florida State University School of Criminology. Welcome. We're glad to have you with us.
Good morning. I am Donna Uzzell, and I work for the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. I am currently, as the chairman mentioned, the chairman of the National Crime Prevention and Privacy Compact Council. The council is a federal rulemaking body that works in partnership with states and users and policymakers like yourself to inform or to regulate and facilitate the sharing of criminal history record information to non-criminal justice users to enhance public safety and still address privacy rights. To date, 27 states have ratified the compact and 11 have signed our MOU. I'm delighted to be here today. I represent my fellow states. I do need to say that my comments reflect the practices in my state and the individual opinions of several of our members and are not an official position of the council, since it is a federal rulemaking body. The council fully agrees that persons who are placed in any position of trust should be appropriately screened. Clearly, individuals such as private security guards are vital to the nation's domestic security. In Florida, I'm proud to say that these checks have been done by our Division of Licensing for over 20 years. We average 30,000 checks a year. But as we heard, not all states do participate. In my handout, I have expressed the concerns with the existing law and would be glad to expand on that during any Q&A. In regards to solutions, though, I'd like to reference not only the testimony provided earlier on the AG report on criminal history background checks, but I'd like to share with you firsthand experience from a proven model that is also referenced in the AG report. Several years ago in Florida, volunteer agencies were considering implementing the National Volunteers for Children's Act to protect children, the disabled, and the elderly. There are a number of volunteer organizations such as Boys and Girls Clubs and churches that fall within this category, as well as large employers in our state such as Universal Studios and Disney World. The dilemma was that no one agency could take on the workload of screening and no one criteria was appropriate. The solution, through an amendment to the Act, was to allow the qualified entity with the presence of a waiver to receive the criminal history information and to make their own suitability determinations. This allowed us to implement this law in our state, and the entities are subject to state audits to address privacy and security concerns. It's been working in our state since 1999, and we've conducted over 140,000 criminal history checks just using this model. Another model that is applicable, as Frank Campbell mentioned, was Public Law 105-277, which was passed in 1998, allowing nursing home facilities to receive national criminal history information from the state in the event that a state statute was not in place. 3 states take advantage of this law, and in 2007 alone, over 27,000 checks were done under that act. One more model that was recently enacted by Congress via Section 153 of the Adam Walsh Act is the ability for private schools to now receive the results of criminal history information to make suitability determinations for persons they employ. Similar to the private security guard industry, private schools across the country were receiving varied assistance in obtaining these checks for their employees. When Congress passed the Act in July of 2006, you enabled private schools to directly receive national criminal history information if the provision was requested by the governor and the checks were fingerprint-based. In that same Act, Congress made this provision available to private companies that contract with child welfare agencies for licensing of foster and adoptive parents. These models could be applied to the private security guard industry and would allow the states that wish to regulate the industry to continue doing so, but not hold hostage the companies in states where regulations do not exist. Several states that I have spoken to indicated they'd be able to begin processing these checks if the information was passed down to the employing company. And I might add that the Florida Association of Security Companies emailed me and said they supported this approach. Privacy issues, well, let me just say this. At least 25 states already make criminal history information in their state available on the internet. Private data companies compile this information and sell it around the country. Information provided by the FBI is at least fingerprint-based and eliminates some of the harm done from someone mistakenly identified by name, and caveats could be put in place, like as mentioned in the AG report, to protect privacy. Rap sheets can be read. It is a myth that they can't. With minimum training, we have evidence of that across the country. If it's true that security guards do protect 85% of the nation's critical infrastructure, and I'm glad to hear that was a number I heard. I'm glad to hear you say that, Mr. Chairman. And we trust them with tremendous responsibility, then why wouldn't we trust them to receive criminal history information to ensure that the right person is placed within these sensitive positions and allow public safety to take precedence? So consistent with past congressional precedents, if legislation is enacted, I'd strongly consider allowing private security guards to receive the information. Despite what you may have been told, there are companies that would like to police themselves and are willing to step up to the plate and take on the responsibilities. And just one more thing, Mr. Chairman, I've heard anywhere from 16 to 32 to 40. Just in preparing for this, I polled 17 states, and 14 of the 17 actually do these checks. So what I will do as Compact Council Chairman is I will be glad to work with the security guard industry, but I will do a poll or a survey, and I would be glad to share the information not only of what states conduct the checks, but states that have any limitations, so I can share those with you as well.